Hello, and good morning. Welcome to Tea Rights. I'm your host, Jax Wolf, and you have found my little writing stream. What we do here is pretty simple. For the first half an hour, we're just going to chill out and let people drift in. But essentially, if you're on Blue Sky, consider clicking the link that you see on your screen right above the little window. That will take you to our open chat. And when I say open, I do mean pretty damn open. You can basically say whatever you like in it, so long as it doesn't make people uncomfortable, aka don't be a creeper, and so long as it doesn't violate YouTube's TOS. I will read whatever you say out loud and respond to it. That is the social part of this stream. Every stream we will also have an icebreaker. That little icebreaker is designed to help you ease into the whole chatting thing. Today's icebreaker is pretty simple. It's favorite tropes. Uh, I will let you know about mine in just a moment, but before I do that, let me just explain the rest of the stream. In less than 30 minutes, we will begin the first of our word sprints. Normally we do about 3, sometimes we do 4, but this will be a 3 sprint stream today because I am going to be social later on today and I do want to be ready for it. But that having been said, what are word sprints? If you're kind of new to the writing scene, word sprints are periods of time. As you can see in the top left hand corner of our screen, ours will be about 20 minutes. And during that time, the traditional thing that you do is write as much as possible. Now, at the end, you share your word count, people root you on, and you go back to writing whenever we have another sprint. However, here in Tea Writes and its sister stream, Night Writes, we like to take things a little bit faster and looser. So, what that means is my only rule for our word sprints is that whatever you do, it needs to affect your life positively in some way. So you can write, you can edit, you can make art of any kind, you can chill out and meditate, you can eat breakfast. I encourage you to eat breakfast, by the way. You can do laundry, whatever it is that improves your life in some way or you consider to be progress, do that. And then at the end of those 20 minutes in which you are making some kind of progress, we will take a 15-minute break. I will be chatting during that break, but you should probably get up, stretch your legs, do whatever you need to, refill your water, and so on and so forth, because breaks are important to the entire writing process, aka or productive process in general. At the end of those 15 minutes, we will start in on our next sprint, and we will do that again a total of 3 times. So that is 3 sprints, sandwiched neatly between cute little breaks. And at the very end, we will talk about schedules and whatnot. I do have announcements for that part. But that having been said, by the way, happy Steam sale, everybody. The program that you see on your screen is Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions. It is a productive e-suite that is very chill, but you get it through Steam. And it is the Steam Spring Sale, and I might be flipping through little by little. Taisha has just walked in. Taisha is one of our regulars to the Tea Rate sessions, and she says, good morning. I say good morning back. But yeah, as for my favorite tropes, I like a whole list of them. A lot of them are just like, I will say this, I don't particularly care for like the usual ones. Like, I don't, enemies to lovers does not ring my bell. I don't really care too much about forced proximity, all that kind of stuff. What I do like is like friends to lovers, grumpy, kind of sort of grumpy sunshine, except for I prefer something that I call a gremlin minder, wherein you have like somebody who's super enthusiastic about their one passion. Usually it's like academic in nature, and you have the down to earth partner who keeps them from doing stupid shit. So it's not really grumpy sunshine. It's more like straight man and shenanigans. I also, like I said, I like Friends to Lovers. Childhood Friends to Lovers really does my jam. Toasts my bread, as you would. Um, and of course, I also like traditional tropes, like from back in the TV tropes era, things like stuff that isn't super romance related, but like obviously like transformations and shit like that. What matters a non-human? Philosophical questions and shit like that. I could keep on going, but like insert your trope here because we like to talk about that shit. Like, I will say this, like, tropes. Um, a lot of people, tropes are very controversial in the writing scene. I know. Like, there are some places like Book Talk and whatnot that are like super into tropes, and then you have people who are like, ugh, it diminishes your story so much. But like, they are essentially a marketing tool, and they have kind of existed for a long time. We just didn't really call them that or focus too much on that because there are certain things that you will like no matter what there are certain things that you like and certain things that you will chase after, certain preferences in what you read and what kind of media you take in. Uh, and sometimes we just call them subgenres. Like I know I'm kind of rambling, but I kind of feel like yes, if you're advertising, a good summary is a very important thing to have. But I also feel like tropes have their place. They are shorthand for what's in your story, and that's it. Uh, it's only bad if you build an entire, like, if you come up with the tropes essentially first and you basically launch yourself into a story and don't really, like, you build your entire story based on just tropes. So, what I mean specifically is you used to see this a lot, but we never called it this. But do you remember how we used to have, like, Twilight knockoffs, or this is the really big one that everybody hated, but Hunger Games knockoffs, like people if you think about Divergent, that was like a controversial book, right? It's because it was founded based on the idea that dystopia was in, whereas Hunger Games set out to say something. So that's really and for another example, like Ellie Hazelwood is super controversial, and it's because she basically writes based on tropes and what's in and which tropes are in. See, that's where we start to get into kind of like the bad touch territory. When you start creating art that's less about what you actually want to create and what you actually want to express, things that you actually want to explore. And when you go into tropes just because certain tropes are in and you need to write this just to make money. So that's, in my opinion, the difference between good trope and bad trope. But tropes themselves, but in themselves, aren't bad, in my opinion. They're just like shorthand for what is in your story already. That having been said, like, I also understand why people are so tired of just seeing trope lists and they want actual uh, summaries and whatnot. And it's because, like, sometimes you get into a trope list and you're like, oh yeah, that looks cool. And then you go and read the book and it's just sort of like, either A, the trope isn't in it at all, or B, it's not something that you would be interested in. And the summary is often like the first indication of not only what's in the story, but also the author's skill level. Because it takes a lot of skill to summarize a book into like either an elevator pitch or a blurb, right? So if the blurb or summary sounds like it was kind of shittily put together, you can basically think that the book's probably going to be not your thing. So you basically have things like, I don't know, like Age to Scorpius comes to mind. Age of Scorpius comes to mind. I don't know if many of you have been into that story, but basically you had this writer, Milo Winter, and Milo Winters, I do believe, as at the end. And basically, he had gone on TikTok and he would go off about how talented he was. So that was like strike one because that is why people don't like Lark either, by or like Lark and Alex Astor either. But also, if I recall correctly, Age of Scorpius was also advertised exactly how you would think a book talk book would be advertised. You did have the blurb, but you also had like a list of things that were in the book. And when you went in and when people went in and read the book, it was half baked. like it was edited. We know this because there was extensive talk about editors and whatnot, although whether or not those editors actually existed is controversial, I know, but it's like there was a step. We just don't know if it was actually Milo who did it or somebody else. But, like, the concepts were just kind of loosely defined. And I don't know if it was just like tropes were to blame for that. Like, it's probably complete. This is probably completely irrelevant, but it's sort of like I feel like Milo Winters might be a good example for the kind of person who goes into things writing on based on vibes, you know? Like there's nothing wrong with that either, but you know, you do need to develop a little bit more and not every vibe-based book makes it into a publishable state. And that is the unfortunate truth of the matter essentially. Anyway, that is a lot of rambling. Hi everybody. Welcome. I am still rambling because we're waiting for people to trickle in. But if you are trickling in, consider the icebreaker. I just rambled on about tropes, so, you know, just list your favorite tropes and let's be cool about tropes as well. But, you know, talk about the icebreaker, talk about how your week went, talk about how you're doing, that kind of thing. I personally can't believe that it's Saturday already. It feels like this week just went by so fast. But then again, I've been super busy the entire time. Health, kind of, like health was a little bit rocky and stuff like that, as per usual. But getting better at least. Apparently, you're not supposed to dunk your entire goddamn hand into a bucket full of detergent, and apparently, stress over that kind of makes time go weird. But I'm here. And then afterwards, I am going to be social. I am trying to be as social as possible, to be honest. I feel like I need to start making an effort to go out every week and to see new people. I don't know. I just feel like that might be a good idea. I'm making tea while we're waiting for people. But yeah, I have finally finished chapter 13. We are on chapter 14. That little bit you see is on your screen. that's all blurry that you can't read is chapter 14. And I'm excited because it's the B chapter. I've done a bit of work doing all kinds of name changes and stuff. You might have seen the thread on Blue Sky, but like I have decided to expand my world into entire like universe, essentially like Discworld, except not. Um, so I have new ideas for works in progress. This is why. So there's that. Hell yeah, honey dipper. Um, I have essentially a title change for the Nameless Song. The Nameless Song itself is the series title. The book that I'm working on, though, is called The Ballad of Mick Martin, and it is the first in a series of what I'm still thinking is three, but we're going to see. Hmm. But anyway, I'm even also thinking about changing like my pen name too. It's just because I want to do something a little bit more bee themed for my brand, but I will tell you why I'm called Jax Wolf. That is also a pen name. But basically, when I first started getting into writing, I had written a book that is currently on the back burner, and probably will be for some time if I'm going to continuously write books in what I'm calling the uh, Lumina universe, the Lumina books. Um, but basically, it was about this. I think I don't know, remember if I've actually talked about Always the Bridesmaid on Tea Rights. I know that I have in Night Rights because people who attend Night Rights have been following me since Tumblr, and they're like, well, we kind of missed your original work in progress there, Jax. What's going on? But anyway, it's called Always the Bridesmaid, which was hilariously a placeholder title that just became the title. And it's essentially about imagine that the nexus of all human creativity and ingenuity and thoughts is a library, and that library is located in the dreams, in a dreamscape that you can go to, just through sleep. But most people get to it when they fall asleep with troubled minds. So if you're stressed out or if you're in need of answers, you end up in the library. The library is also staffed by people who never found their way out. So the way that you get out is you find the answer you're looking for and you pop back into the waking world. Uh, Librarians are people who just ordinary dreamers who wound up there, and period. So the library takes them in and turns them into librarians in order to serve as not necessarily custodians of itself, but more like shepherds to other patrons. So they're the ones who sit down and help you figure out what you need to figure out. The story focuses on one. He came in way back in. He's from ancient Greece, specifically Alexandria, during the height of the Library of Alexandria. Uh, and he has been there for thousands of years. He is very depressed. We find out that he is just the kind of person who struggled to connect with people. And eventually he comes across another patron whose name is Sadie. And Sadie is from modern day Boston. And despite the fact that her problems are kind of easily solvable, she keeps coming back to the library just because she wants an escape at first, or because she wants to be her friend, the librarian Alexandria's friend. And basically, the entire story, as soon as that happened, or as soon as Alexandria realizes that she's coming back, is about Alexandria trying to figure out how to keep Sadie from becoming another librarian. Because the library does try to keep people in itself. Because it too is trying to cling to people to avoid loneliness and being alone. So it's this entire thing, and at the very end, the reason why this is all relevant is because at the very end, we learn that Alexandria is not his real name. It's actually Lycos, uh, which means wolf. And it becomes kind of like a running gag where every single character that's associated with this work in progress has the name Wolf in it somewhere. So there's Lycos. Sadie's last name is Highland, which is means wolf, like little wolf. There's another recurring character who tries to befriend, who's been trying for hundreds of years to befriend Lycos. His name, as we know it, is Constantinople, but his actual name is Zev, which means lion, but he chooses his last name Mare, which means wolf, and so on and so forth. Because and it's like the joke is that Lycos and all these other characters think of themselves as lone wolves, but they're actually a pack because the entire story is about how you cannot recover from depression properly without the help of others, whether that's therapy or whether that's having a decent support group. Like, it doesn't have to be romantic, but it does have to be some kind of human connection that grounds you and helps you to work through your emotions and stabilize yourself. Because human connection is naturally healing. So that is always the bridesmaid, but and that is why my pen name's surname is Wolf. But since then, I kind of put Always the Bridesmaid on the back burner because it was such a weird book. I didn't think that I'd be able to sell it initially. So instead, I started working on the Nameless Song, The Ballad of McMartin, and just last year I had bought Benjamin, and then all of a sudden my entire brand became bees. And bees are a very special animal to me. Just in general, they are little hardworking creatures who have a little bite to them, can be a little bit spicy, and I identify with that. They're very cute. And therefore they make me happy. Benjamin has been very essential for my survival, essentially. And, you know, the biggest thing that I've created thus far are the Zizun, who are bee people. So I kind of feel like it's about time that I kind of like retire the Jax Wolf persona and create a brand and persona that fits more in line with what my values are now and what I'm interested in now. Uh, and just in general, like, I don't know, like, I came up with Jax Wolf whenever I was still dating the dipshit. So it's sort of like, okay, one more thing to fix up and change. It would be like a pain in the ass because that would mean changing the pen name everywhere. And also, I don't 100% know what name I would go with, but is something that I'm currently considering. Anyway, Taisha says, "What are the best ways you found to go out and see people?" Wondering since I'm full time work from home. This is a I have to admit that this is probably a bad question to ask me because I live right outside of New York City. So my answer is literally just I have made friends through various interests, and we have a convenient place to go hang out. So my secret is that I would find things I'm interested in, and I would find groups that are related to that. So a lot of my friends are actually from Ingress. I have writing friends. Today I'm actually going to see family, but my cousin, I've reconnected with my cousin through writing groups. Sometimes I go and hang out just with nerd groups and whatnot. And it's like, it's just because New York City has, I know I've said this before that they don't have groups, but like the secret to New York City and its groups is you actually just need to network. So unfortunately, my tip is not universal. However, I do recommend in other cities you will find meetup groups, and there may be meetup groups that are related to your interests. So like pick an interest and reach out and find somebody. Like do Google searches for groups related to your interest. Taisha says, fun about expanding the universe, similar to Discworld, but not. I'm actually hoping to do something similar with mine someday, but want to get the first published first. That is probably a better idea than what I'm doing. Like, right now, like I'm still working on my first book, but I'm also coming up with new ideas for future books. Uh, I know it might sound like a good idea on paper, like you have backlogs of ideas that you can jump to as soon as you're done with the first book. But it's also kind of a distraction, not gonna lie, and also risks like you being like, "Hey, I'm more interested in this. I'm gonna work on this instead." Like I'm resisting every temptation to work on Bohemia. Like I had resisted every temptation to work on Bohemia not too long ago. And now the interest du jour is a Wild West bee story. I love Honeydew. I want to talk about Honeydew at some point, but we are 1 minute away from the sprint, so now's a bad time. Uh, Also, the write-in this morning has inspired my daughter to work on a story of hers here in the office with me. Don't worry, I'm wearing headphones. Totally cool. And also, it's probably for the best that you're wearing headphones because, my talk sometimes gets spicy. So, absolutely, we welcome your daughter here. That having been said, it is 8:59. So, we're at 9 o'clock at this moment. So, if you're not at your docs at the moment, get to your docs. Uh, we are going to start off with our usual breathing exercise. Back straight in your chair. Tasha says, yeah, she's 9 years old. Aw. In that case, don't let her listen to my spacey talk. Back straight in your chair, everybody. Deep breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth. One more time. And out through your mouth. 20 minutes are on our first clock. Get ready. Get set. And here we go. All right, that is sprint number 1. How did we do? I did 456, which is not that bad at all for a first one. I also finished transcribing. I had written a lot on Sunday, and it's taken me this long to actually finish up. But we are literally just 2 seconds away from meeting the bees, so I'm excited. That's exciting, right? But how did everybody else do? I'm also a little bit getting ready for the day out, so you might hear a little bit of sound. Hopefully not that much, though. But in any case, it looks like a beautiful day out there. It is warming up also, so I am very excited about that. I'm spending at least part of the day in the city. I don't know if it's going to be the entire day. Basically, I'm catching up with family and just sort of like treating people to lunch. It's all going to be chill. But I haven't seen one of these people in years, and the other one in. I think the last time I saw them, it was just before my move. So man, there's a lot. I mean, the one of them has known about the dipshit saga, so. Uh, Tasha says, got some good editing done on my first chapter. I recently finished my latest round of novel editing, and now back to the first chapter to make some changes based on a beta reader. So daunting, but getting there. I am rooting for you for sure. Hopefully good changes and not foundational ones like like I wound up making. But it's super exciting. You're getting a little bit closer. And this is your first one, right? I should actually know this. I should actually take a little peek-see too. Boop. Okay, so not first one, but oh, excellent. So yes, I am definitely rooting for you. Hopefully, we'll both get there at some point. Sherry just joined. Good morning, Sherry. And she says good morning and congrats, Taisha. And I'm seconding both those concepts right there. Taisha says finished in September, did querying for a couple of months, realized I needed to fix things, so stopped querying to self-edit for a few months. Yes, my first one. I am kind of curious now. Like, first off, it does make me feel better that I'm being so slow on this book. But second off, I am kind of curious, like what made you feel like what signaled to you that you were ready for editing? Because and I know that sounds kind of like a yikes kind of question, but I'm mostly trying to ask, what is the signal for when you're like, yeah, I can do no more editing. I feel like this is ready for the world. Because, like, I'm on draft 7 right now, guys, and I'm suffering. Like, I mean, I kind of sort of got to that point at some point before this last round of betas, but, like, I don't know, like, I'm always curious to know where the gut feeling is, how many drafts folks do, just to get a sense of, when I can tell my inner editor to shut the mess up and just dive right in. Tasha says, so I initially queried about 20 lit ancients. Some got some limited response, which was better than nothing. That made me realize what I should start changing. I was terrible about telling instead of show. Okay. So I did some self-editing, but also had a professional look at my query in chapter 1. Ah, okay. All right, that makes a lot more sense. So it's sort of like you just kind of felt like you were ready, but getting feedback really told you that that's what signaled you to go back. That makes a lot of sense. Hey, as a side point, I don't think that I've actually given y'all an update on the bee sweater, but the hood has been made, or at least it's a couple rows from being completely finished, and I'm excited. I definitely used too large of a pattern. It covers the entirety of Benjamin, but then again, Benjamin needs to be a warm bee, so this sweater might be a perfect thing for him, actually. I just need to finish a couple more rows, tie off the hood, sew it up, and that'll be done. Then I need to figure out what the back ribbing means. And he shall have, and then do the sleeves, which I might do first instead of the back ribbing. And he shall have a full sweater. I'm excited. Uh, Sherry says, for my first novel, I lost track of how many rewrites literally years. Then I read some advice that if I really wanted to be a writer, I needed to at least 3 books, but aim for 10. I realized I needed to push the first one out and move on, warts and all, or I would never be a writer. That is a fair point. And it's true that everybody's first book is a little bit rough. Like I know that Terry Pratchett did not, or like was his shame, his old shame was his first book as well. So I guess this will definitely be my last draft, and we will dive in. But like I also don't regret super duper too much about diving in because we have bees. That's 58,000 words, and that is a third of the way into the book, and we finally get the bees. So that's probably something that I'll need to fix up. But getting it out on paper is step one, so I'm not worrying too much about it. Sherry says if it's an ebook and you indie publish, you can always make a new edition. I see people rewrite published ebooks all the time. I kind of, not gonna lie, am probably aiming to be too ambitious, but I do want to actually have a print edition at some point. Um, I also don't 100% know what I want to do. Like, I keep saying that I want to, that I'm thinking more or thinking more about indie publishing. But I also kind of still want to query just to do it and see what happens. But on the other hand, I also know that the trad path has gotten a little bit weirder as of late. Like a lot of people are no longer just they're no longer like raw querying. They self-publish first, and then they get picked up uh, by agents because they've essentially proven their saleability, as it were. Um, So like I did, but then again, I've also still heard that some publishers are still like, I would, I want to have the privilege of being able to publish, or debuts are more lucrative. So like, there's conflicting information, I do admit, but at this, but mostly like, I think also that times are changing essentially, and it might be a better idea to start off indie, but I am still a little bit nervous about going indie. And it's just because doing it all myself and putting in all that work and putting in, like, I know that the entire total cost of self publishing is less than how much I pay a month for rent. But at the same time, it's like I want to make this the book that somewhat close to the book that I hope it will be. So like, just the entire idea. I need to definitely make that map, and I need to definitely figure things out for sure. But 100%, the main goal is that I want to do a print book and then just move on to the next one. Uh, so actually, it's like it's two things. Like, number one, I want to be able to do a print book, and number two, I want to move on to the next book. But this is also a series, so I'm a little bit nervous about whether or not it's fully cooked and fully baked and works on its own, or if people are going to read the first one and be like, this is absolute shit. Like, basically eviscerated a la Age of Scorpius. But I should stop looking into book talk drama, because on the one hand it tells me, or it's teaching me, uh weirdly teaches me what not to do in terms of writing and how to behave as an author. But at the same time, I also am very nervous that I put a book out and, like, there isn't enough reason to do the next one. But we'll see. uh Sherry, or sorry, Taisha says, storyteller, do you spell it Sherry? I want to make sure I get it right. Storyteller, or sorry, Sherry tells us, gives us the spelling. It is IE for those curious. And Sherry says, well, I'm excited to read it. Oh, thank you. I I also hope not to disappoint. But yeah, it is true that doing new editions is an option. Of just in general. That actually reminds me of the shenanigans, like the Pretty Little Liars Kindle book that I've heard about recently. Like, I don't know if you've heard about this, but apparently somebody had bought the Kindle edition of Pretty Little Liars, which is a book that was published in 2006, and they updated it to be modern. And it's so curious because, number one, it's an it's interesting because it means that literature can be an ever evolving thing, especially with the digital landscape being as it is. And number two, like, it's definitely artistic choice because you could have left it alone. But I also get it because, like, if you're doing a young adult novel that caters to teenagers, that's about teenagers rather, then of course you want to have your terminology and setting match. So it's just super interesting. But also, now that I think about it, that the video where I learned this made an excellent point, and it was arguing that physical media is important because it was anti this, but at the same time, it also means that you always have a record of the original work if you have print books, but then you can basically do whatever you want if you have digital. So now that I think about it, maybe it's not as much of a problem to go back and do new editions. So I don't know. I don't know. That would be kind of interesting. to have that control via self-publishing. But anyway, it is our next round. 20 minutes on the clock. Let me just really quickly go through the chat. Sherry says that just made me think about how original oral storytelling was always evolving as the tellers retold the story. Now I kind of like the idea of going back and doing new editions of your books and having like a print version be the record and a digital version be the copy that you constantly improve, because like now it's sort of like you're upholding tradition. I like that. Anyway, 20 minutes are on the clock. I will shut up now. Good luck, everybody. All right, that is sprint number 2. How did we do? I admit that I took a teeny bit of a break to go eat something, so I only got 204 words. I might push a little bit further just to get this bit out. But the bees are finally in, like, we have already seen bees. Don't get me wrong. Like, the bees were technically introduced in chapter 4, but we have finally met the bees of Saint Nadia, and they are very cute. We have finally also gotten to see drones. So drones are very interesting too. Like, um, I don't talk about drones nearly enough as I do queens or workers because most of what you will see are queens and workers. But Zizun drones are basically, they know they have only one purpose. And most of them, like, there is such a thing as a drone being like, I don't want to be a soldier or a guard. I'm going to go and do something else. But they are kind of hardwired to do both of those things, or at least to serve the other two castes. So, not really serve because that's a little bit problematic. They are more like I even when they want to be independent, they will have a tendency to seek out the company of others. So you will very rarely see a drone on his own, like making a name for himself or themselves, because there's such a thing as trans drones. Um, Most of them will be like, I kind of need a partner here, so they will adopt like sometimes it's other drones and they'll work together. Other times, most of the time, most commonly, it will be a collection of drones and a worker who it basically serves as the, because drones tend to be a little bit shy when not around other Zizun. So the workers will tend to be their liaisons to everything else. Most of them, most drones though, do want to fulfill the purpose that they were basically hardwired to have in their colony, uh, which is they have a few different purposes. The first one is just like drones in actual honeybee colonies, they exist to mate with queens from other colonies. So they are political pieces, and they do have diplomatic training. They are trained from a young age to be able to speak to a queen and talk about their colony's needs and keep up to date with politics. So they are educated, uh, even though they don't always look it. Uh, so the idea is that they go out and they're often accompanied by the queen of their colony, and the queen of their colony goes and visits another colony. And while their queen mates with the drones of that colony, the queen from the other colony their uh, will mate with the drones that came from the first colony. So like, it's an intermixing essentially. That's how they keep genetic diversity going, for the most part. Because though queens can mate with workers who are not always related to her in her own colony, it's just kind of tradition that she goes out and mates with other drones. So that is the first function. The other function is drones do not die from this encounter. They actually go back with their queen. They never see their young, or very rarely. There are cases when a queen from a different colony is like, hey, I like this one drone. If you let me keep him as my mate and partner, our colony's relations will be, even better, and the queen from the other colony will be like, "Oh hell yeah, go ahead, you have my blessing," but only if this drone wants to, and the drone will be like, "Hell yeah, I get to mate with the queen." But anyway, uh, so that is one purpose. The other purpose is that drones are built like linebackers, so they are very much first off, they have more potent magic than workers normally do. Uh, but they are also physically stronger as well. So they serve as essentially the muscle. Uh, Sometimes in times of peace, this often means like they will help with manual labor, but they will also be the protectors of the colony. So they will be the ones to hunt monsters and keep monsters away from their colony. They'll be the one to keep outsiders from attacking the colony. They will protect their queen. That is a lot of drone Zizun will say that is their biggest duty, to protect the queen. Uh, so most of the time you will just see drones hanging out around wherever the queen lives, just standing guard, or hanging out in a colony, standing guard and making sure that everybody is safe and that everything is like running smoothly. Sometimes they will even mediate between worker fights and whatnot, just to keep the peace within the colony. But we finally have drone Zizun here. Uh, they are very cute. They look very much like massive 5 foot tall drone honeybees, huge eyes that meet at the back of their head and everything. Uh, and the Saint Nadia ones are gentle, which means that it's going to be heartbreaking to kill them because, yes, they do die. I think I might save a couple just to have them in Sanctuary and serve as like, hey, this is what drones look like. But for the most part, like the main bulk of who survives and goes into Sanctuary are the workers and their queen. And it's partly because I don't really have a function for the drones. Yes, they have magic, but they don't really do most of the work um, in the colony because that's not their function. Uh, so I kind of don't want to have just drones trying to adapt to a new setting and trying to do drone duties in Sanctuary. I want workers to kind of like establish a colony in Sanctuary and build up from there. It also is a little bit truer to honeybee swarms because honeybee swarms don't often include drones. Uh, they include, just the old queen and a bunch of workers. So, because drones can't really help establish a colony. The queen is usually already mated, so she's ready to go and start laying more eggs in the new colony. And the workers follow her to because they're the ones who protect her, and they're the ones who also build the comb and forage for food to stuff into the comb and feed the baby bees who will also be laid into the comb that they also need to take care of. Like, drones would be extra mouths to feed on the journey there. So it makes more sense to not take the drones, which means that the drones need to die in and within this chapter or the next one, depending on where the fight lands. And it's gonna be sad, but it has to happen. A lot of bees, unfortunately, do not make it to Sanctuary. A lot of baby bees, especially, but not too many spoilers. Apologies for the spoilers, although you probably will be able to see it coming anyway, because I do say repeatedly that the Zizun transplant themselves into Sanctuary, and there are things that are just necessary and givens for happening before we get there. But that is the entire thing about drones. But yeah. Anyway, how did everybody else do? I do apologize for rambling on about bees right there. But then again, I'm also very excited and about the bees, and I feel like if you're following me, you are probably excited about the bees too. But yes, we are finally at the bees, and I do hope that it all makes sense once it all comes together. Like the main reason for me bringing in the Zizun into this draft is because, and I've talked about this on prior streams, that previous drafts had been, we didn't have, we weren't in Sanctuary uh, in previous drafts. Taisha says, I'm excited about the bees. Thank you. But yeah, just to give you an idea of what the pre-Benjamin drafts were like, essentially they were long quests. Mick would get transformed right around the same time that he does in this draft. And then the rest of the book would be him and Eleanor scrambling northward to Eldaven to find a way to change him back. Then discovering that Eldaven's no help, and then racing aimlessly westward to escape the forces from Eldaven, and eventually, and so they would be trying to escape the forces from Eldaven and also avoid Sanctuary. So hilariously, they would be avoiding Sanctuary until the very end, whenever Mick was like, "Okay, I need to go to Sanctuary," and then the book would end with a cliffhanger. Just after he accepts his duty as conductor, and so on and so forth. But this time around, we are actually going to Sanctuary. Like, there is no Eldaven arc. Uh, Sherry says, I did some rereading. It's been a few days since I worked on it. Had about 80 words. That's still good progress, so thumbs up. Taisha says, I revised the first couple of pages of chapter 1, also helping kiddos, but making writing progress, so that's good. So daunting to change chapter 1 a bit, but it shouldn't really impact the rest of the story. Fingers crossed for you, because that is very risky business. I admire you for doing it. Um, Sherry says the bees are very interesting. Thank you. And okay, so I will wrap this up as quickly as possible. But basically, we are going to Sanctuary instead, and there is no Eldaven arc. Mick essentially decides to become a conductor far sooner, and the book is about him and his rise to conductorhood and figuring out what that means, figuring out what his purpose is in this oncoming war, and just figuring out what to do in the face of despair and all of this the potential of destruction and government that only wants to eradicate something that shouldn't exist, that it thinks that shouldn't exist in its kingdom, which should all be kind of familiar. But I'm staring into the middle distance at this point. But the point is, Mick learns where his place is in what is growing to be the end of a very long struggle for the dragons. So I hope that bringing in the bees makes sense, because it gives him hope and more of a direction and more, and helps solidify his identity uh, as the conductor. But the bees come in, or the bees that we're focused on come in a third of the way into the book. It also helps him like further understand how to approach being the conductor and how to approach being just generally not some human from a backwater town. Like, it draws him out of that bubble and helps him unlearn a lot of stuff and learn how to interact within a community. So I guess it is important, or I know it is important. I just hope it comes off as important to everybody else. But we'll see. 10-second warning, by the way. I do apologize for all the. actually, no, I don't apologize because these are my writing streams. I never talk about my writing for some reason in these streams, but I am working on that. But last sprint of the day, 20 minutes are on the clock, and best of luck. All right, that's it. How did we do? Let's see, where was I? There it is. I got another 470 words, 74 words done, which is excellent. Uh, it's an excellent start. I managed to describe the hive inside the this place where Mick and Ruben had gone to. And we are literally just moments from meeting Yarrow, the queen of the St. Nadia hive. So once that happens, there will be a conversation. There may be a battle afterwards. It's going to be exciting. Sherry says, never apologize. Cryptic says, got here with 2 minutes left. And unfortunately, we are not doing another sprint. I do apologize, Cryptic. Um, but I do have plans afterwards. And I kind of want to finish getting ready for it, finish packing up, and just sort of rest before I head out. But Taisha says edited, revised some more of chapter 1, getting there. Good job with 470 words, Jax. Thank you. Taisha says, hi, hello. And yeah, and I also say hello. Uh, Sherry says, nice word count. Cryptic says, nah, that's fair. But then, thank you to Sherry. I hope that you got plenty done as well. That having been said, let me also. Sherry said, I was chatting with friends, so I'm going to have to keep going this morning. Totally cool. I wish you the best of luck with the rest of your progress. That said, let me talk about the upcoming week because it is a little bit important. So, tomorrow, we are not going to have another tea rights, but we might have something later on. I don't have any plans, and I am a little bit excited to continue working. Keep an eye on Blue Sky if I decide to do something fun. If not, the first or the next guaranteed stream will be another night rides. So if you are kind of new to the stream scene in general, we have a sister. Technically, this one came first, but there is another writing stream that occurs on Wednesday nights from 8:30 p.m. to whenever, and that is called Night Rates. The next one will be happening on March the 25th. And then afterwards, we might have another special stream between the 25th to the 28th. Now, here's the important part. The 28th, I will not be around. And the reason why is because I actually have family over. It's actually a number of things. So first off, I have family over. They will be staying over from Friday over to Saturday, and therefore, basically, during the time that I will be that I normally have streams on Saturday mornings, on Saturday the 28th, I will actually be in the city. So unfortunately, no, we are skipping next week. It's also going to be a busy day in general. I have city in the morning, then in the afternoon it's bug guy, and then in the evening it is baby's first sleep study. So fingers crossed that everything goes well there. We might do a special tea rates on the 29th because I am doing a sleep study. So theoretically, I'm supposed to be wrapping up early with that and also getting a good night's sleep. Uh, the that night. Like that is the theory anyway. Like the entire point and goal is to sleep. Uh so we might actually end up having tea rights on the 29th. I would suggest if it is going to happen, it will not be announced. Unfortunately, because this is baby's first sleep study, I do not know how that will affect me. So, or what the actual aftercare process is, if there is aftercare, or what goes down during these. So, even though I will be awake the 29th, I cannot guarantee that I will be in the right headspace for a stream. But I'm still leaving it open because by the time I get back, I will be very fucking awake. So, it might be a thing. So, in other words, keep an eye out on Blue Sky on the morning of the 29th. There is a chance that we will have tea rights then. So, in other words, in summary, keep an eye out tomorrow for a potential special stream. Otherwise, regular stream, the only regular stream that we will have next week will be March the 25th. That will be 8:30 p.m. on March the 25th on Wednesday, and that will be night rates. Then there will be no stream on the 28th. Zero stream. Nada. Do not come. But keep an eye out on Blue Sky. That is Jax Wolfright Stut for now. Jax Wolfright Stut bsky.social. Uh, it's where I make all of my announcements, and I might announce a surprise stream on the 29th. Wink, wink. We'll see how things go. But that is the general summary. We will be back to normal with tea rights on April 4th. So worry not. If you enjoy these streams, though we will be skipping / rearranging next week, we are going to definitely do one on April 4th. So, regardless of circumstance, if you like these Saturday morning streams, and one doesn't have, or keep an eye out on the 29th. If one doesn't happen, though, I will see you guys on the 4th for sure. Otherwise, I always love seeing you guys come in. I thank you all for coming this morning. Again, I'm wrapping up with just 3 streams or 3 sprints. As much as I want to do another one, I do need to get ready, and I do need to go and lie down and just be chill and recharge. So I will wrap things up here. Let's see. Cryptic says, I hope the sleep study goes well for you. Thank you. I hope so too. Sherry and Taisha says, both say sounds good. Taisha says, thanks as always for hosting. And you're very welcome. And I second the notion of happy writing. But yes, thank you all for coming. Until I see you next, whenever that will be, take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, and know that you're loved. And happy writing afterwards. Have a good day, everybody. Happy Saturday. Go out and enjoy it if you can. Bye. See you later.